Insurance fraud in the UK is reaching epidemic levels, and it's costing us billions of pounds a year. Deliberate crashes, bogus personal injury claims, even fake deaths. The fraudsters are risking more and more to make a quick killing. And every year, it's adding up to £50 to your insurance bill. Insurers are fighting back, armed with covert surveillance systems, sophisticated data analysis techniques.
This is connected to a bank account and a second mobile phone number.
And a newly formed dedicated police unit.
Police, get back!
They're catching the criminals red-handed. All those con men, scammers, cheats on the fiddle, now they're caught in the act and claimed and shamed.
That's the police. Can you open the door, please?
Today, the Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department tracks down suspects involved with potentially fraudulent checks.
Arresting on suspicion of money laundering.
A high-performance sports car gets a roasting.
The petrol tank caught fire and the vehicle went up in flames.
And a martial arts expert gets the chop.
This individual said that he couldn't instruct martial arts anymore. Clearly, this video evidence showed the opposite, really.
A bustling city centre would seem to be the perfect place to blend in unnoticed. But for would-be insurance fraudsters, even in the busiest cities, there's nowhere to hide. In 2008, a bicycle journey home was abruptly cut short by an accident, which would have far-reaching implications for the man involved. Jeff Owen is a consultant with national law firm Greenwoods, which has a specialist anti-fraud group that worked on the case.
This claimant was riding his bicycle along the road when a taxi pulled in front of him and clipped his bike, causing him to fall off. He had suffered injuries to his neck, to his arm, to his hip and to his leg.
The driver accepted liability, and the cyclist contacted the insurer to make a claim for the injuries he'd suffered. Not unusually for a claim like this, he was given a medical examination.
Some of the symptoms that are reported to the medical experts were that he was not able to walk very far and he was unable to ride his bicycle. Now, if somebody's not able to do that, then it's indicative of quite serious injury.
And the repercussions of the accident were significant.
As a consequence of these injuries, the claimant suggested that as he was a martial arts instructor and very much into physical exercise, he wouldn't be able to run his business and that the business would quickly fail. And this alerted the insurers to the possibility that this claim might be more expensive than they had initially thought.
This was borne out when they received a claim for compensation that ran well into six figures. As time passed, the injuries didn't appear to be healing as predicted by the medical expert. This was a concern for the insurer.
The medical evidence in this case suggested that this guy should have been recovering within about 12 months of the accident, but when it was apparent that he wasn't going to do so and that he wasn't going to return to his business, it was decided to place him under surveillance.
The insurer approached undercover filming experts MC Investigations, who set up an operation to covertly film the claimant. The undercover investigator who led the project has to remain anonymous so that he could continue to work in the field. Before starting the surveillance, he studied the case fully.
The first thing we do is we read through the medical records, so we get a bit of a feel and a profile on the claimant, and then we went out to verify that he did live at the given home address, and once that was established, we then carried out a recce, a reconnaissance, so that we familiarise ourselves with the area that the claimant lives, which vehicles we're going to use, what manpower and what equipment we're going to use.
Once they'd done the groundwork, the surveillance started in earnest.
But for a man who wasn't able to walk very far, it was clear that he was able to do so, and he went on very long shopping expeditions.
But that on its own wasn't conclusive evidence, so the covert filming continued.
And eventually we got the very useful information that he was riding his bike again. And he was followed for quite a distance over a busy road, pedalling away merrily.
What they saw cast even more doubts on the impact of the claimant's alleged injuries.
He actually rode to a gymnasium where he then proceeded to carry out martial arts and instructing martial arts.
This activity directly contradicted what the claimant had told the insurer.
He said that he couldn't instruct martial arts anymore. Clearly, this video evidence showed the opposite, really.
And the investigation didn't stop there. They collected evidence from a range of sources.
The intelligence team then get to work on other angles, as a result of which they go to the social network sites of people who are connected to him, and one of these suggests very strongly that although he's not got a formal business in any gym, he is again conducting fitness classes.
The evidence against the claimant was mounting. He appeared to be exaggerating his injuries for financial gain.
The activity he was now performing was inconsistent with the level of disability that he was alleging. This claim eventually built up to £300,000, and I can say very definitely that he received nothing like that, even for the genuine injuries that he had sustained.
The compelling video footage meant that the huge claim he made was never paid out, and the money he eventually obtained was a relatively small sum to cover the actual injuries he had suffered in the accident. Sent on his bike by his insurer, this exaggerated claim will be on his record for years to come.
I've just reversed the car into a lamppost.
An inept conman is confronted with evidence of his deception.
All right, bye. This will make you a really, really rich man.
His face was a little bit of a picture, I'm told.
And all bets are off for one would-be fraudster.
The customer had been to a casino and lost over £67,000.
Please get back!
Insurance fraud is on the rise. Hunting and punishing the criminals responsible is an elite police squad called the Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department, IFED.
The Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department was set up earlier this year with the sole intention of combating the rise in insurance fraud. We are a dedicated unit that works exclusively tackling that problem.
A growing number of fraudsters are prepared to lie and cheat their way to money they don't deserve. But they'd better watch their backs, because IFED is on the case.
Since our go-live date early this year, we've effected over 120 arrests in the first 6 months, and we are continuing to work up and down the country, bringing these offenders to justice. We're out to stop them in their tracks. There's every chance that an IFED detective may come knocking on their door to arrest them for committing an insurance fraud.
Police, don't move, stay where you are!
Today, the Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department of the City of London Police is on the trail of 4 suspects that it wants to arrest as part of an investigation into an alleged insurance fraud and money laundering scam. The initial information about the case came from an insurance company, which suggested that an employee was acting fraudulently.
As a claims advisor has been accessing claims, adding third-party vehicles to those claims that are totally spurious, don't exist, and then having cheques issued to other people.
The employee, who's believed to have played a key role in the fraud, has already been arrested. IFED is now looking to arrest and question those who allegedly received the fraudulent payouts and then paid a cut back to the initial suspect.
And one of those people we're going to see now is one of those people that's received a cheque, I think, for just over £3,000. So in total, the insurance company have lost over £70,000 in total. I think 11 cheques have been issued, which are totally fraudulent and should never have happened. And the insider has obviously then taken a cut of those cheques. Well, we are specifically looking for banking documentation, bank statements, bank account details.
With 4 arrests to make, there's no time to waste as they follow up a lead for the whereabouts of the first suspect.
When did we come in and have a word with you?
They arrive at the first address and make contact with the mother of the first suspect.
Your son, where is he? Will you allow me in to have a look?
She tells IFED that her son is not at home, but the team searches the house to make sure.
You keep telling us to wait, but we need to speak to your son. Where is he?
The mother insists that she doesn't know where her son is.
I know you're not well, but I need to speak to him. Where is he?
She doesn't give them anything to go on, and it's a frustrating result for the IFED team.
She was unable to give me a contact number for him. How you can't know where one of your sons is, I find quite hard to believe.
So it's on to the next address to search for suspect number 2.
Lights the police, can you open the door, please?
Once the door is eventually opened, they ask whether they can speak to the suspect. It's just the break they need, and they enter the house to question him further.
Right, we're from the insurance fraud unit. and it's believed that you received a cheque to the value of £6,550, which was paid into your bank account. Okay? So in respect to that, I'm arresting you on suspicion of money laundering. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Do you understand?
It just doesn't make sense.
What doesn't make sense?
We've been giving him money.
We don't know where it's gone.
With fraud detection becoming ever more sophisticated, this next claimant certainly took a gamble when he tried to collect a payout he didn't deserve. Paul Hubbard is the head of counter-fraud for the insurance company involved.
We received a claim, as we often do, from a customer saying that unfortunately he'd been broken into, and as a result of the break-in, he'd lost certain items.
At first glance, it seemed like a routine household insurance claim. But then the policyholder got back in touch to add on several high-value items to the claim.
4 days afterwards, he was now claiming for 2 laptops. If you'd normally notice something like that was missing from the word go. So as a result of this, the claim was now £29,000.
The sudden large increase in the sum being claimed meant that the insurance company decided to investigate further. They discovered that there was no proof of purchase for many of the items.
So as a result of that, we then instructed a specialist investigator to go and find out more about what had actually occurred here. They contacted the police, and we started to find there were discrepancies between the story that he had told us when he notified us of the claim and the story that he'd given the police when he alerted them to the fact that there'd been a burglary to get a crime reference number.
The inconsistencies were starting to mount up, and the investigators continued to look into the claim. What they uncovered next shed completely new light on the case.
Our investigator found out that in this case the customer had been to a casino prior to the burglary taking place. This person had lost over £67,000. It starts to give you a bit of a motive for what he might be doing.
More evidence surfaced that put a question mark over the claimant's story.
We also found that the receipts that he had provided for the 2 laptops were fake, that these laptops had never been purchased.
That's good.
It was all the evidence the insurer needed.
So we presented this customer with the evidence that we'd found. So we'd found the fake receipts, we'd found out about his debt to the casino that had occurred before the burglary took place, and we declined his claim on the basis that we felt he was trying to commit fraud.
The case didn't proceed to court, but having the claim rejected on the basis of fraud has major repercussions for the policyholder.
It will have serious ramifications on their life because they'll find it very difficult now to get insurance, they'll find it very difficult to get financial products, and it's something that they have to tell people when they're taking out insurance.
The would-be conman trying to compensate for his casino losses failed to come up with a watertight story. But he looks like a mastermind compared to another insurance cheat that Paul and his team also investigated.
I like to be all legal. I just thought I'd ring the insurance company and just let them know what's happened.
Mr. Machin called us to explain that he'd had an accident where he put his car into reverse, thinking he was going forward, and then just accidentally reversed straight back into a lamppost at high speed, he said.
I've just reversed the car into a lamppost. It's just nearly written it off. Was there any injuries to anyone?
He had his girlfriend and his girlfriend's son in the car with him, and he explained to us that they were both injured as a result of him reversing into this lamppost.
Well, everybody's got neck pain now. Even I've got it.
The policyholder didn't have the sort of insurance cover that would allow him to claim for the damage to his car.
He was effectively claiming the injuries to his partner and his partner's son, who he said were both injured. He didn't go into any detail at that point as to how they were injured, how badly, but he did say that the son was going to hospital.
The insurer immediately sensed that John Machin's story didn't quite ring true.
Some of the things about the accident didn't add up to our experienced claims handlers, such as the fact that he said he reversed at speed into a lamppost. He was also very, very vague about the circumstances of a motoring conviction that he had as well. So all of those things put our experienced claims handler on alert that perhaps things weren't as Mr. Machin was telling us.
The claims handler followed the procedure for dealing with a suspicious claim.
Started to ask a number of questions of Mr. Machin just to extract more information from him. All we're looking for effectively is for people to tell us the truth. As a result of those questions, we were again increasingly concerned that the information wasn't accurate.
Alarm bells were ringing by this stage, but there was no actual proof of fraud. However, at the end of the call, John Machin made a critical error when he failed to hang up properly and gifted the insurer all the evidence they needed.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for calling today. Thank you. Then. Goodbye. All right, bye. Bye. I can make you a very rich man. If this is it, and if it all comes off this, I know it's going to take time, but when it comes to that time, right, this will make you a very, very rich man.
When we heard that phone call for the first time, we were really surprised, horrified to a degree that somebody would be so blatant about the fraud that they're trying to commit and feel so good that they were taking money from effectively innocent customers who have to pay more premium.
The insurer passed its evidence to the Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department of the City of London Police. At the time, the team had just been formed to fight the mounting problem of insurance fraud, and this was one of the first cases they investigated. They moved in to arrest John Machin and take him for questioning.
When brought back to the police station and the various procedures that are entered into, he was subject of a taped interview. Questions were put by the investigating team, which he flatly denied, so we said, "Thank you, Mr. Machin. Would you be prepared to listen to this short recording?" And we pressed the play button and played the recording that the insurers had provided us with. His face was a little bit of a picture, I'm told.
This is it, and if it all comes off this, I know it's going to take time, but when it comes to that time, right, this will make you a very, very rich man. I won't have to go to work no more. Oh, yes.
The case then proceeded to court, and he was found guilty.
In this case, Mr. Machin was convicted in court of insurance fraud. He received 200 hours community service and a 4-month suspended prison sentence.
It was the result the insurer wanted and helped to send out a message to any other would-be fraudsters.
I think people like Mr. Machin see insurance companies as a giant pot of money that they can just dip into whenever they feel like.
But that's far from being the case, especially now that IFED is actively pursuing those criminals who try and commit insurance fraud.
The first conviction of any new unit is always a milestone, so this was a particularly pleasing one, and it was also an added bonus that it was a slightly amusing set of circumstances around that first one, so it's one we'll always remember.
These days, all aspects of technology are used to combat insurance fraud, even social media. In the summer of 2009, an insurance company was contacted by a policyholder who'd had an unusual accident. Sarah Hill is the fraud partner at a firm of solicitors who worked on the case.
The vehicle owner claimed that he had attended a fun day. It was a Ferrari fun day where there was lots of events going on, but one of those events was that Ferrari owners could take their vehicle, be involved in actually taking members of the public around the track for a small fee.
This fee was then donated to charity. The policyholder had spent the day giving rides in his Ferrari to raise money for good causes. But what started with such good intentions ended in disaster as the day drew to a close.
The owner had suggested that he was on his way out of that fun day when he'd lost control of the vehicle because of a greasy surface, and the vehicle had spun and hit a tree. The petrol tank caught fire and the vehicle went up in flames.
Luckily, the occupants of the car managed to scramble to safety.
With a significant vehicle fire, the vehicle was declared a total loss, and the claim that had been presented was for the value of the vehicle at around £50,000.
Such large claims are subject to investigation by insurance companies as a matter of course, and they looked in detail at the story. The owner had said that the accident occurred close to the entrance to the venue.
But actually, when investigators have gone to look at the accident circumstances, the physical evidence didn't support the accident occurring close to the main gate.
The traces of fire damage that were still present on site indicated that the accident had actually occurred away from the exit. With their suspicions aroused, The investigators took the unusual step of exploring social media for further evidence of what had happened.
As you can imagine, it was quite a high-profile day, a fundraising event. It's quite unusual to have a Ferrari spin off the track and hit a tree and catch fire. So there was some, on local chat rooms, on social media, conversations taking place between members of the public that had actually attended the day.
But it was a video of the accident recorded by a member of the public and posted to a popular internet site that particularly caught their eye.
The YouTube footage helped us place the accident location. It was completely different to what the owner had actually alleged.
But the footage on its own wasn't enough, so the investigators collected witness statements. What they discovered from people who were there on the day sent the owner's story up in flames.
Their evidence indicated that it wasn't the owner of the Ferrari vehicle that had been driving the Ferrari at the time of the accident, and in fact it was his friend who was uninsured.
This was totally unexpected. Not only was the owner being untruthful about the location of the crash, he wasn't even driving at the time. This was to have massive consequences.
In order to make a claim for the value of the vehicle under his policy of insurance, the Ferrari owner had to have been driving the Ferrari vehicle at the time of the accident.
But since he wasn't, he'd be out of pocket to the tune of £50,000, the cost of the car. This huge potential loss was what motivated him to lie to his insurer and submit a claim in which he falsely stated that he was driving at the time of the accident.
He was not entitled to claim and clearly put forward a fraudulent claim in alleging he was driving the vehicle.
The case was passed to the authorities and proceeded to court.
Initially, the Ferrari owner pleaded not guilty, which was very surprising to me in light of the extent of the overwhelming evidence. Later on, he did actually plead guilty to the offence. He received 200 hours unpaid work and a fine for his crime.
6 months on from its formation, the Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department, IFED, is continuing to investigate suspected fraudsters.
Can we come in and have a look?
Today, they're on the trail of 4 suspects linked to a case of alleged money laundering. They drew a blank at the first address, but the second suspect was home and has just been arrested.
I'm arresting you on suspicion of money laundering.
As they move upstairs to start searching for evidence, the suspect seems to be in shock.
Understand why you've been arrested, haven't you?
It's in relation to a cheque for over £6,500 that's gone into your bank account. It's quite a lot of money, hence the arrest and suspicion of money laundering.
Okay.
All right? Okay.
It's vital that the IFED team collects enough evidence to make the case stand up, and they gather together a range of potentially relevant documentation.
Cash passports, currency card.
Suddenly, a breakthrough comes from the suspect.
He's just made a significant statement which we're taking note of, which he'll sign. He's admitted to his mother and to us that he has taken that cheque, accepted that cheque. He was approached apparently by a man on the street.
Do you want my P&B?
The suspect is then taken to a local police station for further questioning, and the IFED team talks things through with his mother.
We don't want to keep him in unnecessarily, so...
No,
right.
it just doesn't make sense.
What doesn't make sense?
You know...
Why he would do it?
Not only that. If he did, where's the money gone? Because he's at university, we've been giving him money.
I know. We don't know where it's gone. So we'll find out when we interview, and I'm sure you'll manage to get the information out of him when he comes home. The mother was distressed in the respect that obviously her son's just been arrested, and I'm speaking to Mum. She's brought her 3 children up to tell the truth and be honest, and I think she was more upset by the fact that he hasn't been honest and has admitted that more or less to her.
There are still arrests to be made, and IFED hits the road. Their destination is the family home of the third suspect. The door is answered by his mother.
Hello.
Hello.
Hiya, I'm DC Sibley from the City of London Police. It's in relation to a matter we're investigating in relation to insurance fraud.
And again, they draw a blank as they're told he's away.
OK. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thanks very much.
She's informed me that he's at university, which is typical. Another one bites the dust. On to the next one.
The arrest of the 4th and final suspect at his family home is going to prove tricky.
The last address we're going to, there are 2 people there with the same name.
Again, the 4th suspect is alleged to have received a large cheque that was paid into his bank account.
Good afternoon, City of London Police. This is my colleague, DC Einsman.
The door is opened by one of the residents, but IFED still needs to positively identify the suspect.
It's in relation to a cheque for £12,000 to this address.
The man who opens the door can't seem to shed any light on the cheque, but Kate isn't prepared to leave it there.
Can we come in and try and get to the bottom of this?
The man explains that he's alone in the house. Kate talks to him about his other relatives, and it seems likely that the younger brother is the one that the police need to talk to.
Yeah, that fits the profile of the other people that we've been arresting today. So
they call up the brother in question while he's still at work, and he asks if they can wait for him to finish.
No, doesn't work like that, sorry.
IFED speaks to the family member further, and it turns out that in addition to the two relatives with the same name living at the address, there's a further relative who shares the name as well.
No one's admitting to it, which is not really a great surprise because it's a £12,000 cheque that's gone through the account.
It's vital that a positive identification can be made so that the correct person is arrested. With so many people linked to one address with the same name and of a similar age, it's tricky to identify who is who. Kate makes a decision and speaks to the younger brother herself.
We're City of London Police. We're up from London. We're going to get all the full identification of all of you and we'll ascertain what account this cheque was paid into. Because if it is you, then we will come knocking, all right? He was helpful on the phone. He's given me his mobile number and all his full details, so we have all those now.
Before they can make the arrest, they need to investigate the bank account that the money was paid into, so they can match it to the correct suspect.
I think a bad judgment call to arrest all of them, because we don't know which one it relates to.
But there was good news for the case in the weeks to come. The information that they collected on the day allowed IFED to make 3 further arrests. The investigation is ongoing, and the team are hopeful they'll be able to get a positive result.